Please leave a comment and click the like button. It really helps the algorithm introduce these stories to new people. Thank you. Don't look back. Just run. Every first snowfall, we ran. It wasn't a celebration, nor a gathering of song or smoke. It was survival, writ into the bones of the village the way blood is bound to flesh. The date was never questioned. The elders knew. Bent men with blind eyes and women with fingers like gnarled roots. Whispers passed from lip to lip, etched on the bark of trees and scrawled on stone. Snow comes on the 12th, they'd rasp, as if the words hurt to speak. Be ready. And we were. The day before, the village fell to silence. Fires burned low. The smith quenched his forge and muttered a prayer to his hammer. The baker left his bread half kneaded. Even the dogs stopped barking. No riders came. No carts left. It was not the storm we feared. It was what moved inside it. Each household had its own rites. Some packed only what they could carry. Bread, salted meats, boiled wool. Others redrew old paths through timbered hollows and wind-worn fields, hoping to outrun death on secret trails. Boots were laced, belts pulled tight, knives kissed and tucked into boots. There were no church bells, no farewells, only the sound of waiting. And when the first flake fell, we ran. The old mine lay half a day's march north, where red stones jutted from the earth like bloody teeth, and cedar posts stood like sentinels. They said a shaman of the first people had bled into the stones, giving his soul toward the place. The wolfmen could not cross there. We believed it. We had to. The cold burned skin like fire. Legs ached, lungs filled with broken glass. Dozens of us moved like one beast, breath fogging, feet pounding the earth. No one pushed. No one spoke. To stop was to be taken, and taken meant to be forgotten. By 12, I knew the rules. Never be last. Never look back, and never stop for a voice you know. The first run I can still remember came when I was 5. Memories blur. Certain truths remain. How my mother's fingers crushed mine like a vice. How the cold sliced my face like a knife. She burst through the door when the flake fell. No words, just her hand in mine, dragging me into the white. The village was already moving. Shadowed bodies in motion, heads low, arms pumping, boots hammering frozen dirt. I cried. I stumbled. My knees bloodied on the stone. She didn't stop. Didn't scold. Didn't speak. She just pulled harder. Behind us, someone screamed. A wet, gurgling sound, as if their lungs had torn open. I never looked. When I was old enough to ask what happened to those who stayed behind, the answer came in silence. We didn't have ghosts or goblins. We had wolfmen. Their stories weren't to scare. They were to teach and warn. They were what came with the snow. Silent, drifting, terrible. And I knew this was true, because my father was taken. I remember the stink of ale on his breath, the thump of boots on timber as he swayed across the floor. That night, my mother tried to rouse him. I remember her voice trembling. "Please, please, Aldrin, the snow's falling." He cursed her, slapped her hand away. "Let it fall," he muttered, collapsing back onto the bench. She turned to me. Run! We did. His voice followed us into the dark, slurred, confused, calling her name. Then came the scream. Not like before. Worse, like a man being peeled. We never saw him again. By 9, I could run without tripping. I no longer wept. I found the rhythm, the pace that gave you breath enough to survive, but never enough to slow. That year, the snow came late. The cold had already sunk its teeth into the earth. When the first flakes came, it felt like a sigh. That was when I grew curious. I'd never seen them. The wolfmen. Only the aftermath. Only the blood on snow. The gaps in the line. The names as left off the spring census. So I turned, and I saw. At first, they looked like men. Tall, cloaked in fur, masks of bone covering their faces. But then I saw their arms, too long, thin as saplings, the skin stretched over bone like wet parchment. Fingers ending in claws that twitched with hunger. Their legs bent at wrong angles, knees facing sideways, as if broken and never healed. And their heads, twisted, snouted things with too many teeth. Some mouths hung open, flesh flayed back from the jaws. Others had no faces at all, just smooth, wet skin and holes that oozed. And their eyes. Gods help me. Their eyes. Some had none. Just pits. Others glowed like lanterns behind the storm. They didn't walk. They floated, drifting like leaves on the wind. Part of the storm. Part of the death. I made a sound. Something soft, like a gasp. One turned. Its mouth stretched open, and inside I saw something moving, like a nest of worms writhing in heat. I turned away. I never looked back again. Years passed. 17th, the elder said. The date carved into barn doors, chalked on stones, whispered by firelight. We all prepared. I did too. But this time, I packed no food. I drew no trail. I didn't oil my boots. Because my mother could no longer run. She lay still beneath blankets that barely warmed her. Her voice was a wind chime in winter. Fragile. Thin. You must go, she told me. Her eyes, sunken in pale skin. I won't, I said. You can't save me. You already saved me 100 times. She wept. Outside, the sky dimmed. At 5:46, the first flake fell, and the sound came, deep and slow, like a god humming through the bones of the world. Doors burst open. The village fled. I turned to my mother. She nodded. I lifted her. She weighed nothing. I stepped into the storm. The cold was a beast, teeth in every joint. I ran. Not fast enough. Never fast enough. Shapes passed ahead, flickers in the white, shadows sprinting. Behind me, the storm thickened. Then came the sound. A hush. Smooth and gliding, like silk dragged over stone. Then the gnawing. Then the scream. "They're here," she whispered against my chest. I ran harder. Ahead, a path, half hidden. I took it. My legs failed. My lungs bled. A structure appeared. A shed. Old. Cracked. The door swung loose. I stumbled inside, kicked it shut, fell. She lay still. I covered her mouth, my own breath stilled. Then came the whispers. Cold, too slow. Join us. One voice took my father's tongue. You don't need to run. The door creaked. I turned, trembling. It stood just beyond the frame. Tall, wrong, fur matted with ice, arms too long, dragging across snow, hands split at the fingers like a butcher's mistake. Its head turned. It saw us. Then her hand, my mother's, touched my cheek, and she smiled. She stood. Her legs quaked, but she stood. She screamed. Not in fear, but with all the fury of a mother saving her son. The wolf man turned to her and followed as she vanished into the snow. I did not follow. I could not. I froze in stunned silence, clutching myself. Overcome by grief or cold, or whatever causes you to freeze. I don't remember passing out. But when I woke, she was gone. So was the storm. The door hung open, snow untouched. No prints, no trail, no sign she'd ever been. I walked, returned to the village. The fires still burned. No one asked where she'd gone. No one spoke of the missing. Only the survivors were remembered. I ran every year after, for her, for the ones who couldn't, until now. Now I am old. The flake falls on the 23rd, and it is no longer a warning. I lie in bed, covered in blankets which do not warm me. The fire is a simmering ash. The air shifts. The first flake falls, and I do not move. I know what comes next. I turn my head to the window. In the glass, I see myself, hollow, sunken, and then a shadow. Not fast, just moving. It stops, lingers, as if waiting. And then I hear its voice. Her voice. A loving warmth settles over me, soft as old wool. A presence I haven't felt in decades. I smile, and tears fill my eyes as I welcome her in. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed tonight's story, please let me know in the comments and clicking like. I truly appreciate hearing what you have to say, and it also lets the algorithm know to push this story out for new people to discover. There's a handy playlist you can click here as well for even more scares.